The upcoming Guardian Tales banner is on fire, but who is worth your gems? There are 4 heroes, the new Pymon, the Destroyer God, but also Vishuvac with her 2 weapons allowing different team buildings, the terrific Bone-Child Clara, and Lynn, the Drunken Soul Master. As usual, we will break down the new hero skills and animation and provide you some quick tips for team buildings for each hero in using our overall utility ranking card for each content. And I will give you my priority polls, my recommendation at the end of the video. Let's get started with Piemont, the new fire tank. She's a 45% defense party buffer, getting 5% shield on battle start and an additional 8% skill damage. A normal attack deals AoE melee damage, you love to see it, and her weapon skill throws a giant lava boulder which actually has a pretty long range to inflict ranged damage and taunt nearby enemies. Having both melee and ranged damage and taunting enemies on normal attacks is very strong and so helpful in tough PvE stages with a lot of enemies around you, but also it allows Piemont to benefit from any melee and ranged party buffer. For the Shen skill, she instantly jumps on one target and inflicts 240% of DPS melee damage. The distance she covers is about 3 to 4 square radius, and the approach is actually pretty quick, which is very good for PvP arena. The special ability, the God of Battle, allows Piemont to increase her damage by 15% and reduces her damage taken by 10%, but it brings the same unique mechanic as the legendary arena that we covered a few weeks ago. This is the ailment resistance. So ailment is referring to the different status from down state, injured, airborne damage that any unit can unleash either on the weapon or on the Shen skill. So ailment resistance will allow Piemont to better resist from being immobilized by most weapon and Shen skill, and also it can stack when you are hit and increase your damage by an additional 15%. And finally, a weapon, the Planet Buster, can reduce attack by 20% for 6 seconds on hit, and increase your normal attack damage by 25% and creates an additional magma carpet that inflicts 150% DPS damage on the Shen skill. So overall we can see that Piemont has a very offensive skill set as a tank, which suits her very well in PvP arena where she shines the most. She needs an aggressive playstyle in order to get hit and trigger additional damage and better resist the different ailments type. And she's a very decent defense party buffer for any beginner looking to fit the role. The only flaw is she does not bring any team support like other tanks, like Ogma or Future Princess does, so it is worth considering to bring any hero capable of providing some residual healing in your team, as she won't last too long if she is your only tanker in the team early on. And by the way, if you enjoyed the video so far, don't forget to destroy that like button. Next, Vishuvac is back with 2 different weapons. Her original volcanic horn that you can see on the left, which brings her as a HP party buffer, and the latest volcanic core that changes her abilities in becoming a skill damage and fire attack party buffer. So let's start with the original volcanic horn, for which she runs as a HP buffer 40%. In this version, Vishu can deal AoE damage on normal attack and abuse her weapon skill called the Flame Explosion that can actually be used to dodge enemy skills or get close very quick if you are a skillful player. For the Shen skill, it's Flame Blazing. This is a neutral to injured that makes her very easy to fit in different team building and can increase the life defense and fire attack by 30% for 8 seconds. Her special ability increases her damage to enemies that are not fire type by 25% and increase the HP of the fire type party members by 15%. And finally, her exclusive weapon will give 20% more damage on normal attack and can trigger an additional explosion with 40% chance while giving you one additional flame explosion skill to use to dodge or reach your enemies quickly. That version of Vishuvac fits better in a tanky formation in PvP arena with another defense party leader, for example, and is optimal to boost the attack and HP to monofire type in the team comps, especially in PvE. Overall, she remains a great monofire centric unit and scored A+. Now, the Volcanic Core version of Vishuvac is a strong single-target unit, a more offensive and versatile option of her with 45% skill damage and 25% fire attack party buffer. She also has 9% skill damage and 5% attack increase on enemy kill. A normal attack now can throw fireballs on a single target at a very long range and recovers allies' HP by 1% on every hit. A weapon skill, the Dragon's Shout, increase her defense by 25% and nearby allies critical hit multiplier by 50% for 4 seconds, which is such an amazing buff for your team, but it is best when you main with her as it activates only within a 3 square radius around her. For the Shen skill, it becomes the Flame Bomb, which is a neutral to airborne state that allow you to fit very easy in any team for the Shen skill rotation and can inflict a huge 455% of DPS towards a single target while decreasing enemies' defense by 20% for 5 seconds, which is very good against PvE bosses and any single target. However, a Shen skill has a large area of effect. The only flaw is the long activation, too long activation, which makes it very difficult to land and easy to dodge in large arena maps. And finally, a special ability gives an additional 25% fire attack to a weapon skill, but most importantly, has a unique mechanic that increases a damage dealt to the enemy by 50% of your critical hit chance value. So, if you have, let's say, 70% critical hit chance stat after equipment and party buff, she will deal an additional damage of 35%. So, you really need to build a full critical hit chance or bring a critical hit chance party buffer in your party if you want to optimize her damage output. All in all, the Volcanic Core version of Vishuvac is much more offensive option across all the content, focusing on single target damage, making Vishuvac a more aggressive and damage-based version while remaining a great mono fire support with a party buff and providing some residual HP on normal attacks to balance the lack of HP buff. Now let's keep it going with Lynn, a fire melee attack party buffer that have been an absolute stud at her release for the DPS melee comps in Arena and Guild Raids, and remain actually a great alternative if you need one. Lynn's advantages come from her weapon skill that allows her to set your enemies on fire and inflicts 100% DPS of injury damage. This allows her to deal damage over time after hitting your enemy. So while using a weapon skill, which is called Flame Martial Arts, that it is the bread and butter as it has a very good range. Her Shen skill has also a great area of effect and a swift activation to reach your opponent quickly for optimal damage. The only problem now in PvP arena is most of the player will be using the card the injury damage negated, which drastically reduces your damage, and also tanks like Arena or the new Piemont that can resist injury damage. Overall, she remains a strong melee party buffer for your melee raids team and still a great unit for overall progression. And last on the list today, the cherry on the cake is the Bone Child Clara, a range fire unit with a 50% range damage party buff, 5% shield on battle start and 10% skill damage. You'll love to see it. Clara has a very straightforward skill set built around fast attacks with long range, great damage and mobility. A normal attack can fire AoE damage with piercing flame arrows, and her weapon skill, the burnout, release flames and increase her attack by 30% for 4 seconds. The Shen skill, which is one of my favorite animation in the game. Let me know what do you think, but to me this is the Meteor Swarm that deals 330% of DPS, make it rain. And her special ability, the Blessing Void, will increase her movement speed and defense by 20% for 3 seconds and increases the damage of a normal attack by 20%. Finally, her exclusive weapon will allow her to fire 3 arrows instead of 1 at the end of her normal attacks rotation. Overall, the Bone-Child Clara is a very solid unit in every content and a very strong party buffer for any needs you might have. Her swift attacks, the long range and mobility makes her very strong in PvP, where she is still rocking in the top tiers. Now it is time. Who is worth your gems? The last position will be Lynn and Vishuvac with her original weapon, the Volcanic Horn. Both are still very good units, but they are just better counterpart overall for beginners and mid-game players nowadays. And for the rest, well, it's really depending on your party buff needs. Whether you need a defense or a range or skill damage party buffer, they all will do the job, but I will still put Piemont in the 3rd position because she's amazing offensive top tier defense unit for arena, but unfortunately does not bring any support skills to compare to other tanks for the PvE side of the things. So she will still handle it if you already have a built team with decent stats. Then I will put Vishuvac with the Volcanic Core version on the 2nd spot. She is a strong single target DPS that can help on both stages, even if she remains optimal in boosting and having another fire DPS in your team. And a long chain skill activation will be very hard to land in arena, so be aware about it. But thanks to a new skill damage party buff and neutral chain skill entry, she can be used in many more teams. And finally, slightly above them all, I will put Clara for anyone who needs a strong range party buffer, as she has fast, long range attacks with decent damage, very good mobility, while getting some thick defense and speed boost on the special ability. Overall, this banner is more about filling a role you are missing, but I won't say any of them are a must unit as they are better counterpart, but please let us know in the comment section below, will you summon on this banner? Which hero is your jam? And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to destroy that like button, hit that bell and turn on your notification to receive my happy energy right in your feeds. Also, there are plenty of Guardian Tales content playlist on the channel. Feel free to check it out if you need any type of beginner mid-game player guide. Also, I do cover new upcoming amazing mobile games, so feel free to join us. As usual, I wish you all to be safe, to be well, and until the next, stay tuned everybody.